So, what are they?
The fucking dolls!
The little people.
You're in the middle of the road, jackass!
You tell me where cornbread is? Turkey!
It ain't cool being no jive turkey so close to Thanksgiving.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We are Just Another Movie Night, and I am Scotty, and that is Joe.
I am Joe, and I am ecstatic.
Because we are doing one of our favorite things, talking trash.
Talking trash.
But even better on top of that, we're in our second annual Turkey Fest.
Turkey Fest.
And Turkey Fest to us means movies that are bad that we absolutely love.
Oh, disclaimer. We have been drinking.
We're going to tell you this. We decided that, we need a little pep in our step. And there's nothing better to just enjoy the hell out of these favorite bad movies that we've seen way too many times, but then a couple drinks. And we are on round 3.
Round three right now for me is Elysian Night Owl Pumpkin Ale. It's freaking delicious. This
Yep.
is not a paid endorsement, just saying.
I wish.
Yeah.
And my friend brought me over Samuel Adams Cherry Wheat, which I haven't had in probably 6 years.
Yeah, cherry wheat's kind of like an old school thing.
I haven't had one forever, so he held one for me. And I'm going to drink that with this movie because I think I need it. What are we talking about today? Because you're in charge, because this is your pick. Last
Okay.
week I did my pick, which was Pieces. And this week you were doing... What movie? Tell us all about it.
Okay, so we are doing Dolls from 1986. This is directed by Stuart Gordon. And I gotta say, I have a personal relationship with this movie.
Do you know?
I do. Simply because I watched this movie as a kid so much. And I mean, here's the thing. So, like, when I was young, my parents didn't really put a limit on what I could watch. Like, I couldn't watch filthy movies on HBO if they showed nudity and stuff or sex. But when it came to horror movies, I was okay as long as there wasn't it was not just gratuitous sex all around, And this is one of those movies that my mom let me rent at the video store over and over and over. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I rented this. And I was just in love with this movie.
That's going to be our theme for at least next week as well. Movies that we rented way too much. Next week will be the same thing for me.
Yeah, for real.
So this week is yours. That's funny you
Yeah.
say that because I did have a lockdown. My mom did not want me to watch stuff, which if you've heard of any of our episodes where I'm making fun of myself, I had so many bad experiences. And my family, as much as my mom said don't watch certain things, I was watching those things by accident or because of her and being scared to death. But you know when you're told don't do something, you do it 20 times more than you're supposed to. And that's where I fell in love with horror. Mm-hmm. So I think you have the same thing.
I feel like this movie is one of the top 5 reasons I fell in love with horror. And also, I fell in love with dolls in general.
Yeah,
I think I'm
both
why
of us.
I'm obsessed with Chucky today.
Yeah.
Because of movies like this.
I think we have this connection. We have the same thing because this movie in particular, produced by Charles Band, who resonates with us both.
Yes.
Which is really another one of those reasons that when we met each other, we shared this love of these killer doll films that Charles Band was doing. Because you were watching Dolls, and I was heavily involved in Puppet Master when I was a kid.
Yes.
I love the Puppet Master series. And
Yes.
if you see anything Charles Band, you it feels like you're almost watching all of these movies over and over because he uses the same people and he references his movies in the backgrounds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And a character in this movie that goes by Mr. Punch shows up in the background of one of the Puppet Master films. So
Mischievous Mr. Punch.
Yep.
Always making trouble.
and the lead actor and one of the lead actors in this film is also the head of the Puppet Master series in part 3 on.
Okay. Yes, and we need to address that.
Toulon, yeah.
Too long.
Another
Yes.
puppet maker.
Yes. Yes. So
So we have this connection. And I have to say this real quick is that you have a list when we met, when we started sharing in our little session of movies, when we started talking to each other for the first time. We shared this. And you had 3 movies. And you said, well, I hadn't seen any of the 3 films. Mm-hmm. And I still, to this day, don't think I've seen one of them. Which is really odd because we own it and you watch a lot. And I don't remember ever seeing it. So we'll get to that one day. But
which movie is that?
that would be American Gothic.
Okay, how dare you?
You have 3 films. So on one of our first hanging out together, we went to your place and we watched the movie Witchcraft. Right? Was it?
No.
Witchboard.
Witchboard starring Tawny Katane.
Yes. And I was like, why? And we went back and forth sharing our movies that we love with each other.
Okay, can we just say that my year in horror history, okay, this is my year, is 1986. Every movie I love came out in either 1985 or 1986. When we're talking Return of the Living Dead, Dolls, Witchboard.
I love it. You can pinpoint one year.
I mean, yeah, it's 1986 has been a very big year in horror for me, and I love 80s horror, and it's my passion. 80s horror is everything.
Yeah, for me, if I look back, I think that the 70s are a really big hit for me. Because I think, Halloween is 78. When's The Exorcist?
Exorcist was, I believe, 73.
Is it? Okay, yeah. Jaws?
Jaws was 76.
I have a big love of the 70s horror films, which
Yeah.
I wasn't even born yet. And, Halloween I was. But, I just aged myself for anybody
Oh
listening.
my god, you're old.
I am an old fart. And this cherry wheat is delicious. So we're talking about dolls.
Dolls. Okay.
Dolls.
It looked like a safe haven from the raging storm.
It's an odd kind of place. Where'd your folks get it from, Boris Karloff?
Their hosts seemed like the essence of hospitality.
Stay here as long as you like. Wonderful.
But appearances can be very deceiving.
The weather brings out creativity. It helps me in my work.
What kind of work is that? Witchcraft? Pleasant dreams.
Dolls. You're never too old to play with dolls. Until you're dead. Dolls.
I guess we should point out Stuart Gordon is the
Okay.
director of this film.
Okay, now, I'm going to tell you right now that the reason you should absolutely love Stuart Gordon so much
Well, I do.
is because he is a director of Reanimator.
One of my favorite
Yes.
corny movies.
Yes,
I
sir.
adore it.
Yes, sir.
You know what's so funny is so many people are in that same boat with me with the love of Reanimator. Mm-hmm. That they were actually angry about this film when it was made.
I don't understand. Okay.
Because it just didn't fit that mold of what he does.
Okay, I have well, he's done so many movies that we cherish. Like, I mean, just a lot of 80s schlock horror from
yeah.
Beyond and all that stuff. Just the fact that he gives everything he's got. Even though he's working with silly material.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he brings it. He does. He brings the best out of his actors. That's what I think. I mean, especially when we got Herbert West, Dr. Herbert West.
Oh, one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Combs. I wish he was in. I would say this doesn't feel like Stuart and Gordon directed it.
Really?
Yeah, this feels very unlike him. He's usually more very, very pushing the envelope, and this movie seems a little more tame. and it seems a little more wholesome in its concept.
I mean, a little bit. There is some blood and gore,
Yeah.
but it's not as it's got that comedy horror aspect, just like Reanimator had. And this came out after Reanimator, so
Yes,
like,
that's why fans were a little upset.
yeah, and
They were
I get
hoping
it.
for this to be like that.
This was a little bit directed more towards the, I guess, the how do you say it? Like your casual horror watcher.
I guess. Yeah, this
You
is
know?
an interesting one. This is one of those movies that just feels like one of those up all night films that for some reason kids could like check it out. It does remind me more of Charles Band's Puppet Master.
It does.
It
And
does have a
has-
feeling of that
yeah.
because you kind of like some of the characters and you feel for the characters, but there's also those assholes and there's killer puppets again. It does feel very in that vein.
Yeah, and you can tell that Charles Band had something to do with this. Like he was an executive producer on this, and you could tell. I don't know. It just
Oh,
because
just like his brother with the music.
yeah, the music and I don't know. I mean, there's something about this film that like as a kid, like when I tell you, like we had a video store. It's ridiculous to say video store.
I love talking about videos.
But we had a video store that was right across the street from our apartment. And I would literally beg my mother to take me to that video store every day. And every single day when you can rent videotapes for $1.50, I would rent dolls.
God, those days, man.
And I would rent the Thriller video.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
I will tell you right now that I know that whole entire dance like the back of my hand because I think Thriller is like one of the best videos ever created
It's
on
not
Earth.
even a debate.
There's no.
I don't know
I mean,
how people
it's
can debate this, yeah.
single-handedly the best video ever made on Earth.
John Landis.
And John Landis,
John Landis.
hands down.
Yeah.
But those are two movies, Dolls, and also I would make her. I would say, please, Mom, it was like rent two get one free or some crap, and they had like a special at the video store, and I would either rent like silly movies like The Wraith.
That's
or
a
the
wild
gate,
one.
the
Oh,
gate,
The Gate. Yeah, me
yes,
too, yeah.
the gate, or things like that. Like, and she never once said to me, "What is this movie about?" She just let me do my thing. My mother, she was like, you're gonna learn from things. You're just gonna learn. It's like when I first got my very first tattoo. It's like, oh, well, why you want to do that? Oh, because I like it. Okay, like it wasn't. My parents didn't put like a hindrance on me, and
Yeah.
I really appreciated them for that. So yeah, this is one of those things where I was like,
Let me ask you this though:
love-
how did you find this movie the first time? What was the first time?
the very first time that I saw this was I was perusing in the video store, and I saw a doll holding the eyeballs like
Yeah.
in the front cover, and I'm like, ooh, what's that? And automatically my mom is like straight off the bat, she's like, wait, is that a rated R movie? Is there gonna be naked people in it? And I was like, oh, no, it's about dolls, Mom. And
And I guess also what connected with you is you like dolls. Like you
I-
like Barbie dolls
I
and all that.
loved Barbie dolls. I love action figures.
I guess that makes a huge
And
sense. Yeah.
like I love collectibles and things like that. And and I think that this movie single-handedly had a pivotal role in who I became as an adult. Like, I'm not lying to you. Like, I am obsessed with Chucky and Tiffany. And there's a reason that I'm obsessed. It's because this movie was like a pioneer for that kind of thing. This and like Dolly Dearest and, then Chucky and things like that. Like, it just became something for me.
Yeah.
Unlike Children of the Corn, that made me actually
Went the
afraid of
opposite,
corn,
yeah.
went the opposite direction. And I think that if my mom knew back then what she was getting into, she would never have let me watch Children of the Corn, because now I can't even go into a cornfield or near a cornfield.
Awesome.
So I
Yeah.
am traumatized at that thing. It's funny how things work.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
Yeah, but this film has it really has done something to me, and I just love it. It's a guilty pleasure.
What is the scores on this? On IMDb,
Okay.
it has a what?
So it has a 6.3 out of 10. 12,419 people have reviewed it.
And the Metacritic?
Metacritic score is, let's see what we got here. It's a 55.
A 55.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
Actually, not bad.
it's not bad. I mean,
a
this,
6 on IMDb, not bad.
and I think for 1986, this film was like pretty well done as far as special effects go.
Yeah, we got to talk about it when we get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to just go into the plot?
Yeah. I mean, welcome to Talking Trash, guys. We're gonna spoil the movie. We're gonna talk it out. We're gonna talk about scenes. We're gonna talk about things.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say, if you got a beer and you're gonna listen to us, and you want a couple beers and you want to laugh along with us, that's a great idea. And I got the perfect drinking game for you. Drink every time someone's about to hit this little girl.
Okay. Well, can we just say, first of all, you know how I hate, most of the time, I am very annoyed by children in horror movies. I mean, they just get on my nerves. Something just goes wrong. But this little girl, her name is Judy in the movie, and she is absolutely adorable. And she's not one of those kids that's trying too hard to be cute. She's just cute.
To me, she's like a 25-year-old woman in a 5-year-old's body.
Okay, how
And
dare
then they
you.
went and dressed her like Punky Brewster.
Okay. Well, how dare you? First of all, this actress's name is Carrie Lorraine, and she is adorable. She didn't do much. She actually became a criminal defense lawyer later on in life, so she left the biz.
I just want to put it out there. I also adore this character, but
She's adorable.
she's adorable, but she does seem like an older woman.
Well, I think it's because of the time period you're dealing with the 80s, and everyone
like
in the 80s was like, 16 going on 45. So you have to understand that this is
Except-
the time period.
Except, well, I get. Should we wait to talk to it while the plot happens?
Okay, yeah, so let's run through it. Let's go through it.
The movie starts off. Let's just say this. This is one of those movies where the established characters in the movie are the biggest assholes on the face of the earth.
Yeah, like picture the worst parents on earth and
Double it.
and just times it by 100, and they're the worst. I mean, they have the cutest daughter on the planet, and they just are just fucking savage to her.
After we wait, which should be a sign of the apocalypse in any movie watching, when you're thinking you're not about to watch a good movie, one of the signs of that disaster is when the credits go on for too long. And this is a opening credit scene of 2 minutes and 36 seconds. So it does go on a little bit, and Charles Band wants you to know he's a part of this because he puts his name on this. And by the way, sometimes when it's not Charles Band, there'll be two names and two things that are happening. But then when it's Charles Band, it's like, no, the whole screen.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of
Executive producer.
It was like a surreal experience when we went to Joe Bob's Jamboree recently, and I was literally standing within
We were standing
inches,
next to Charles Band, and
inches from Charles Band.
he was filming a movie around us.
Yeah.
And I guess we might be in the movie. Who knows? But
It's possible
it
we
could
show
be
up.
possible. I don't know. But we didn't sign any waivers. They didn't give a shit.
No, they didn't give a shit.
You're in the film.
And I will say this though, he seems like a really cool guy, but at no time during this jamboree that I stood inches from him that I ever felt like I could just go up and be like, hey,
No, not once.
Because I was
I wanted to,
intimidated.
yeah.
I wanted to.
I really did.
And I got to meet Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp, and she was fucking fantastic. I love her so much. Shout out to Felissa Rose. If you are on Instagram, fucking follow her because she's awesome.
She's really cool.
She's the sweetest person on earth. But she actually dragged me into her tent, and she wanted me. That sounded sexual, but no, it's not. She wanted to sign my photo that we took together and at the jamboree, and she introduced me to everyone that was under there. So I met Ginger Lynn. I met Doofy.
From Scary
Movie. I mean, she
dressed
was just
like Doofy, by the way.
dressed like Doofy from Scary Movie, and Charles Band was literally inches from my face, and it was just like I wanted so bad to say thank you for my childhood, man. Thank you.
And I guess, am I allowed to tell an embarrassing story? We didn't do that this year. We didn't do our embarrassing stories because you said you didn't have any, but I always have them. I'm full of embarrassing stories when it comes to the movies.
Wait, did you have an embarrassing moment at Joe Bob's Jamboree?
I didn't have one at Joe Bob's Jamboree, but I did have one when I met legendary John Carpenter, where I said to him, "Thank you for my childhood," and he responded by going, "You should really thank your mother for that." And I was like,
Okay.
Well, of course. Literally, you're my okay.
Well, this is like the same
And
thing.
I wandered off, and I my head between my legs, and I thought, wow, I wish I would have said anything else but that.
Well, you know what? You're not alone, because shout out to our friend Rico. If you're listening to this, he actually met Glenn Danzig, okay? And he asked him to write on his photograph from your god, Glenn Danzig. And actually, in reality, Glenn Danzig did sign the photograph, but he wrote, "Dear Rico, there are no gods." And that was pretty disappointing to Rico. So it's kind of like, okay, it's a big middle finger.
That big
Wang,
yeah, and you feel the rain come down and you kind of stare out in the mist.
So if you're Rico, if you're listening, dude, I feel for you on that one.
Yeah, you're not alone, man. Let me tell you. I've had so many embarrassing moments, which, by the way, go listen to our episode where I just told embarrassing moments in my life. There's an entire episode dedicated to that. So there's some really good ones in there. I didn't tell the John Carpenter one on that one. But so yeah, okay, so back to the movie. Okay. Because remember, we've been drinking, so we're rambling.
Okay, well, you know what? I like rambling. And I got to tell you this. Elysian Night Owl's fucking rad. Anyway.
The movie starts off after this 2 minutes and 36 seconds.
All right, so we see this family of 3, which we already know off the bat that these 2 parents are pieces of shit. And they're driving, they get stuck in the mud.
No, well, let's slow down and just say that to set up that they're scumbags, if you didn't already know, they almost hit hitchhikers.
Yeah, so there's just 2 hitchhikers.
We got a couple punk rock, Madonna-looking punk rockers out in the middle of nowhere who they almost hit, and then when the husband says, who the wife is the one driving, he says, honey, you almost hit those hitchhikers. And she goes, do you want me to back up and try again? So just so you remember.
Right off the bat, we know that Rosemary is a fucking trash heap of a human, okay?
And she's dressed, and she's making one fart face, like she's smelling a fart the whole movie.
Yeah.
And she has one of those towel wrap turban type things around her head. And she is wearing a mink and gloves. And he is wearing like a sweater around his neck. And these 2 do not seem like the parents of this child in the back seat.
No, not at all. But
they seem so much older.
Give you some trivia that she also played Dr. Herod in.
Everybody in this film is either in Reanimator or in Puppet Master.
She was also in From Beyond. I mean, so she's been working with Stuart Gordon for a bit.
These are his people.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people are Castle Freak.
Yeah.
Everybody's in his movies.
It's established right off the bat that she is the stepmother. And
so get ready to drink because they get stuck in the mud, and that's when this kid is like, it's in a thunderstorm. And he by the way, he sees the thunderstorm before it happens, and they get stuck in the mud. He says, oh my God, look at that storm. Maybe we should stop and sit here for the night. What?
Sit where?
Where? Who would stop their car, especially when you almost hit hitchhikers?
Yeah, they're literally in the middle of nowhere. Which is impressive because the 2 female hitchhikers that they almost run over, I mean, it's literally in the middle of nowhere. They're in a forest.
They're on a side road in what looks like the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere.
So sure, shit, he's right. They get stuck and the storm comes, and the storm is like nightmare level. And they get stuck in the mud. He can't figure out how to get them out of the mud. And the little girl keeps talking to them, being like cute, like, Daddy this, Daddy that. And he's like, God damn it. So drink number 1, the first, will you shut the hell up, kid? I want to smack you.
For real.
I'm gonna kill that kid.
I mean, he's the worst father, and this father is played by Ian Patrick Williams, who is also in Reanimator.
Yes, a bit actor. He's done a lot. He's in a lot of stuff you've seen, but it's like 1 episodes and stuff like that.
Yeah, so he
looks very familiar though.
He's married to this rich bitch, Rosemary.
This relationship makes no sense.
It makes no sense at all. Like, I mean, obviously he's in it for the money, but he hates his fucking daughter. Like, he hates his little girl. She's 7 years old. Her name is Judy, and she is like the cutest little fucking thing on earth, but he fucking hates her.
He hates her, and for some reason, he has divorced his wife for this woman, and he has her for summertime.
So he has Judy for the summer, and he's stuck with her, and I guess Rosemary is bitter about it.
I guess for the money, the payments, or I don't know.
Here's the thing.
He only has her for a small time. So why is he doing it?
Well, he has her for the summer. They're in some kind of custody battle. So yeah. But if he has her for the summer, he doesn't have to pay the child support or something.
And this woman clearly hates this man. So why are they together?
Right, it makes no sense. I mean, and also she's fucking filthy rich. You can tell she's wearing like a freaking fur coat. She's overdone. She's just ridiculous, over the top.
Yeah, and if again, guys, drink number 2.
Stand in line.
Right after he's talking about hitting her, that's when she needs to tell you. She's gonna.
Oh, yeah.
She can hit her.
I mean, okay, this little girl is just being a little girl. She's 7 years old. She's cute as hell. And they just want to beat her. I mean, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
The car gets stuck in the mud in the rain. And anytime Judy says the word daddy, she says, he'll make a derogatory comment like, God, I hate this kid or this fucking kid or whatever.
He actually does it with the window closed at hers, but the window's open for the mother, and the mother can hear it because then she goes, yeah, tell me about it. If you want to smack her, I want to hit her even worse.
And it kind of makes me wonder what kind of mother, actual biological mother Judy had to actually want to have a child with this
man.
Human,
Yeah.
because he is a piece of shit.
And then allow him to have her for certain days.
Right. Like, why
Like,
would you
honestly,
ever give
why?
your kids
Why
to
would
this
he
guy?
even want to?
Like, first of all, why would you ever go out with this guy? He's a piece of shit.
He really is.
I mean, he's just a terrible trash human. So they get stuck in the mud, and the worst possible situation, they have to walk because their car is, all fucked up.
Well, he sees what looks like a castle almost, a really beautiful cottage house.
This is another reason why I love this movie.
Yeah.
Is because the outer shots of this house.
You don't get it very often.
You don't get it at all, except once, really.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I love this architecture. I love the creepiness of it. And,
Yeah, it
I was
looks
in.
like they filmed this in the countryside of like somewhere in England.
It was definitely not the United States.
Yeah, it's definitely not the United States. It's a beautiful cottage-looking place.
Yeah.
And you can see it through the storm and the lightning. And he says, oh, we don't have to walk that far. There's a house over there I can see. Mm-hmm. So he talks them into getting in the car. But the oddest thing happens here. The little girl is kind of trailing behind, and they want her to speed up. And the reason they think that she's going slow is because she's carrying a teddy bear, which is her best friend, her little teddy.
Quit moaning about that toy and get moving.
What is holding you two up?
Your kid is daydreaming again.
All right. What is it this time, Judy? Ghosts? Goblins? Little green men on pie plates? Geez, I don't know what kind of crap your mother's been feeding you.
So the woman naturally just snatches it and throws it into the forest and says, no, now you got to catch up. Like, why would this happen? Why would this woman do this? Like, what is it about this doll that's slowing her down? But
Nothing.
We get our first special effect. We get the doll, the teddy bear's revenge, because the teddy bear announces that he is angry, and he comes out of the forest as a giant teddy bear.
Yeah.
That rips open and it reveals that it's actually a monster bear underneath. We just saw a movie in the theater, and this knocks that out of the park. This is creepier than any of that shit.
It really is.
This thing mauls the shit out of these two parents.
It does.
It
It's a really good dream
slaughters
sequence.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's creepy. It's weird. It's surreal. It fits the moment, but it's some kind of weird dream that she's having. Some kind of moment that she's seeing. I don't know. I don't think they really explain it.
No, she has
but
daydreams.
She has a weird daydream, but she's terrified. And really fun fact is that this really terrified her on set.
It did. They have to tiptoe around her,
And,
the actress.
and unfortunately, they played with her a little too much because they walked through the forest, kept whispering and making growl noises, so
Yeah.
it creeped her out more.
Yeah.
But later on the filming, they really took care of her with scare
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So it's a little odd that this moment is the one to do it because this thing is creepy as shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a daydream, and they get to the house, and naturally their first instinct is, well, no one's answering the front door during the storm. What if we just break in? So they naturally break into the basement. And they all go in the basement, and they constantly leave the little girl to go last. Which really irritates me. Watching it bothers me.
they're just the fucking worst trash heaped parents of all times. I mean, she's a stepmother, so she's obviously going to be a wretched beast. But the father, it's like, that's your kid,
Yeah.
man. And like, why are you such a douche? Like she's
What did this little girl do?
She didn't do anything. She was so sweet.
What did she do wrong to you?
She's adorable. She's precious, and like this guy is just such a freaking piece of trash, and I hate him in this movie.
Well, naturally, breaking into the house wakes up the actual owners.
Yes, so now we meet
Yeah.
Mr. Gabriel
Yes.
and his wife, and
This is the actor who played Toulon in the Puppet Master 3
yes.
on.
Now, this guy he's great. I mean, he has this like sweet face, but then he also it can be a little creepy too.
Yeah, he goes back and forth, and they play music for him every time they show his face smiling. They play really nice music that really makes you feel the emotion you're supposed to, which is how you should use music. And they also do it with creepy.
Yeah.
Which is it actually nails the feelings.
It's fantastic because like these two human beings, like they look like they stepped out of like, you know, the 1800s. I mean, they're very old and they look like, you know, those cameo you know, jewelry cameos. Like she looks like a piece of jewelry. It's weird. I can't describe her.
I want to point that I just want to say about these two because you're bringing it up.
Her name is Hillary.
He's very welcoming. She looks like she walked out of a nut house.
Okay, she's off-putting, but when I say that she looks like a cameo, you know, like one of those necklaces, those old cameo necklaces, she does. Like she just looks like an old porcelain doll.
Oh, yeah,
It's crazy, but she's very sweet. Like there's something sweet about her as well, like old grandma-ish. And so they find them in the basement. And,
he has a shotgun on them, and he realizes that they snuck in. He's like, "I like guests. I wish you would have came to the front door."
Yeah.
But the little girl Judy walks up, and she says,
"The front door is locked, and no one answered, and we were awfully wet."
Oh, poor dear.
Got taken unawares by the storm, eh? They do arise rather suddenly around here. All right. Come on up. Come up and get warm.
And so they automatically are a little more like welcoming because they see this little girl.
Well, they see a little girl. If it was anyone else, they would have been like, "Okay, we're gonna take you out." But this actor, Guy Rolfe, so he was much younger than what he appeared to be in this film. So they had to bleach his hair to make him look older.
They're trying to give him white hair.
Yeah. And for some reason, he's still like really warm and welcoming. Like he doesn't strike me as like a creepy guy.
What's funny is that the dye actually turned his hair yellow, and you can actually see some of it, and he was very pissed off.
Yeah, he had gone through a bit.
Yeah, he went through a little bit, yeah.
But you know, it still was very effective in this movie. Like he came off as a warm, like grandpa type person. And
especially when he's around Judy.
Yes, Judy is like obviously she's the center of this whole movie, and like so we're dealing with two assholes so far, the parents. Yeah, and you know they're just so rude. I mean, these people take them into their home, feed them soup,
they bring them up to the kitchen.
To stay.
They bring them up to the kitchen to give them soup to warm them up. They're assholes about everything. They barrel upstairs. They leave Judy behind. Gabriel talks to Judy a little bit. She witnesses that there's a room on the way to the kitchen that has dolls all over it. And he's like, "You like dolls?" And she's like, "Yeah, I love this room." And he's like, "Well, I'll give you a tour after we have some soup."
And right off the bat, just so you know, like these dolls are not your traditional, you know, like I don't know what today is, like Monster High or Barbie or shit. Yeah. No, these are old school porcelain dolls that were like handmade, hand painted, you know, with like especially made clothing. Like these are porcelain dolls.
You're being so generous. Imagine, if you will, listener, imagine it if those dolls, those porcelain dolls, had faces of pedophiles. That's what this movie is. The creepiest fucking faces you've ever seen. With little mustaches, little pencil mustaches, and eyeballs that have lots of veins in them. It is next level creepy. They all look like a caricature of what Howard Hughes looks like in your mind right now. Just imagine Howard Hughes. And just think about a doll version.
That's what I love about this movie is the fact that they went that extra mile to make them appear as though they could be living, you know?
Yeah, and spooky.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's nothing creepier than a pedophile doll. Yeah, it is a creepy looking next level.
I mean,
shit.
they went to like the next level where it's like if there's a cowboy doll, he's like, yeah, you know,
but
like
with that
woo-hoo!
Face I'm talking about,
and
with
he
the
has
little chubby cheeks and a mustache,
and a smile and a little mustache.
It's like you can't tell if it's a boy or a man. It's creepy.
It's. I mean, they really did go beyond. Yeah,
They go to the kitchen to have some soup, but it does look like diarrhea soup.
You know, it does.
It's like split pea or something. I don't know what it is, but the woman does not enjoy it. She's looking at it like it's the worst thing ever. No one really eats it.
Well, she's a fucking bitch anyway. I mean, you have to serve her caviar to impress her.
And that's when Gabriel realizes that Judy doesn't have a doll.
Judy doesn't have a doll.
And he's like, there's nothing worse than a little girl without a doll.
Have a doll.
And the mother, and get ready for another drink because the mother's like, kicks her under the table and says,
Can it?
Clumsy. She lost her teddy bear in the forest.
I didn't really lose it. You kick under the table again. Shut up, you little.
I know. And
Drink
so
number
at
3.
this moment, so he hands her Mr. Punch.
Mr. Punch.
And Mr. Punch is her companion throughout the movie.
You want to describe him?
Okay, so he is a punch doll. Everyone knows what a punch doll is. He looks like a jester. Okay, he kind of looks like a jester. He doesn't have a jester hat or anything, but he does have like flamboyant clothing.
He does have a jester hat. It's like one bell.
Though. It's one bell. It's not like what you would imagine, like a Mardi Gras with
a 3
I've been drinking.
The 3-prong
yes, thank you. The Mardi Gras
like Jester and Puppet Master.
Thank you. It's not like that. It's not Jester and Puppet Master.
It's one, that's what I said. It's not that. It's one bell instead.
I've been drinking. Anyway, so
back up.
Reverse it. Anyway.
Mr. Punch has a crescent moon head.
He does, and he's kind of cute, though. But he has like a really big chin, like he has...
Bruce Campbell jaw.
I knew you were going to say that.
I was going to go...
I knew you were going to say Bruce Campbell.
I was going to say the other one, but... Robert Zadar.
No. He's cute, so that makes him Bruce Campbell.
Okay.
So,
but he does have that crazy nose and those crazy, like, eyeballs. Yeah. That look like they're either going to pop out or turn at any second.
He does look like a psychopath, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and he's got a little like staff that has like a little jiggly bell on it and
cute. He's
tassels.
Cute. He's really cute. He has like the little shoes with the bells on them.
And it's like perfect because her name is Judy and he's Punch. So it's Punch and Judy.
Yes.
And he's like, "Oh, you guys are belong together." And she's like, "Oh, I'm so happy."
Yeah, it almost feels like Gabriel was kind of planning this, but he couldn't have known that they were going to show up at that moment.
I don't know. They're suggesting that maybe.
Yeah, well, I don't know. After he gives her Mr. Punch, so out of nowhere, boom, the door swings open, and there's these 2 punk rock girls. So one is Isabel, one is Enid. They look like they stepped out of a Madonna video. Ugh. Straight out of a Madonna video.
And they are the worst crass people. I think when they bust in the door, the first thing they say is, holy shit.
No, she says, I feel like shit.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And so let the record show that this actress name is Bunty Bailey. She was known for, in the 80s, as the Aha girl. Mm-hmm. So she was in the video Take On Me, which is one of the most innovative videos of all time from the 80s. So yeah, she is the actress in that. And she's very pretty. Very pretty.
But she's so obnoxious in this.
Absolutely
that you can't
awful.
Tell that she's pretty or not.
Dreadful in this movie. I mean, dreadful. Just the way she is and how terrible she is and her manners and just dreadful.
Jesus! I feel like shit. Thanks for believing skin.
After the moment she walks in the door and starts cursing, that's when they also take the soup out of the ladle out of the soup bucket, the pot on the stove, and they start drinking from it.
Okay, now, I don't know if you've ever been to a stranger's house, which, if you go to a stranger's house and it's raining and they're nice enough to, like, let you stay, I don't know if you want to go ahead and just be ultimately rude to them and, just, eat out of their soup pot and just, use vulgarities.
These people can't figure out a way how not to be rude enough.
They're
always
awful.
looking for a new way to be rude.
They're terrible. But then right behind them trails the sweetest guy on earth. And his name is Ralph.
Hands down, one of the best characters in film.
He is one of the best.
He is a great character, and I think it's all due to the actor who is, I think, really not reading dialogue, but being himself.
Okay, so they allowed him to have a lot of artistic freedom.
And you tell. It can tell. Yeah, it's so obvious on screen.
He did, he was a lot of the comic relief in this, that was his role. However, they allowed him to improvise a lot, and he did, and he nailed it.
Yeah, he nails it.
He was
every scene.
Great.
Every scene that he's in, he elevates it because he just is not only the audience, but he's also one of the most likable human beings.
He's so sweet. He's adorable. His name is Ralph in the movie. The actor's name is, let's see, Stephen Lee. And he's been in some stuff.
Yeah, he's in a lot, actually.
Yeah,
a lot
he's
of good
actually
movies.
been in some stuff.
This actor is actually one of the people who is not in a ton of Charles Band stuff.
No, he's not.
He's actually in some really good movies, like really, really big budget.
Yeah. He's got an impressive resume. He's got a lot of stuff going on in his resume. But he's really lovable, this character, and he just picked them up because, they were on the side of the road. It was pouring rain, and he just decided to help them.
Because he saw two women stranded in the rain,
Yeah.
and of course they're saying that he's trying to pick them up like prostitutes.
Of course, because they're pieces of shit.
Yeah.
But, his intentions were genuine. So he just picked them up because they were in the rain, and he wanted to help them. And so they stumbled upon this house, which is the creepiest, prettiest house. I love this house, where Gabriel and his wife live. And automatically, straight off the bat, you could tell that Enid and Isabel are just trash. And I feel like Gabriel and his wife know this. They can see it. They can see how terrible they are of people.
They also seem like they're relishing the idea that these assholes are there.
Yeah, because they know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so it's like this house is drawing them in. They say that the storm is insane, and they have never seen anything like it. And they suggest that the countryside is beautiful, and it's a beautiful area. But yes, the storms are so used to it. Sometimes they seem like they go on forever. Sometimes it seems like endless night.
The longest night in the world.
The longest night in the world. And so I think they're setting up that very heavily, that what's going on is a little more spiritual than it is anything else,
Yeah.
It's very heavy-handed in that sense.
But I will say that Gabriel and his wife are pretty welcoming. I mean, even to these filthy rat bastard
well, they're
people.
welcoming in the fact that they want those kind of people, but they also seem very friendly, instantly knowing Ralph, instantly talking to Ralph. Ralph is very excited to see Judy has a punch doll and says, "Oh my God, I haven't seen a punch doll since I was a kid." And they're like, "Oh, do you like toys?" And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, well, I did. I'm older now. But when I was a kid, I had all of these toys. And you're never too old to love toys."
Yeah.
So he, of course,
is a child at heart.
He's a child at heart, and he and Judy instantly hit it off as friends.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like, of all the people in this film, I was like, oh God, when I first saw this movie, I was like, please don't let Ralph get killed, because he's just the best. And it worked out, because he's literally one of the best characters.
Yeah. Well, what I love is that he now Gabriel separates the people. He takes the husband and wife characters and he brings them to a room and tells them, oh, they're like, where's Judy gonna sleep? And they're like, don't worry, she's got her own room. And they're like, oh, that's probably for the best. And he's like, I thought you'd say that. Mm-hmm. And then he also brings the punk rockers across the hall to them. But then he walks. And by the way, the punk rockers instantly put a boombox on the shelf and start blasting music and chain smoking in someone else's house.
I mean, they're just terrible people.
They're always looking for a way to be assholes.
I mean, you can't get worse.
Yeah. So what I love is that now Gabriel walks Ralph and Judy across the entire house to in another part of the wing of the house, obviously splitting them up from the bad people. And but what's great is that he kind of walks them around and shows them his workshop. And Ralph is automatically just enamored with it. So is Judy. Judy sees the dolls and is in shock. He sees it and he has a flashback to his childhood. We don't see the flashback, but he tells us that his father would tell him stories about how dolls would come to life, the toys would come to life at night when he was sleeping. So he would stay up all night and try to see them, but he never got to see them.
Well, he would leave cookies.
So he
under
started
his
leaving
bed.
cookies for them,
Yeah.
and then ants would eat it. And then his father told him, well, it's not real cookies they eat imaginary cookies. So
Well, he's still a child at heart,
He's-
so
he-
he's like still, believing all
and
this crap.
Gabriel seems to really adore the two of these characters.
Yeah.
And so it's great, but we see little glimpses of how the dolls are moving a little bit, and we hear noises behind doors. And we keep hearing from Judy that they're fairies.
No, they're not. They're elves. Yep.
She keeps saying fairies.
No. She calls them elves throughout
Does
the
she not
whole...
say fairies once?
Not once. Not once. She calls them elves. Trust me. I've seen this movie 387 times. She calls them elves.
Well,
yes,
okay.
they're elves.
Well, I'm going to research this. I'm going to
Okay,
see.
well, you go ahead. You're going to argue with me? Are you kidding me? I have seen this movie.
Fun fact, you're wrong.
No, they're elves.
Sir, please wait.
Is that where the elves live? Who? The elves.
No, Judy, that's just a storage room.
Then where are the fairies?
Maybe there are a few hiding in my workshop. Shall we see?
Throughout
Does
the
she not
whole...
say fairies once?
Not once. Not once. She calls them elves. Trust me. I've seen this movie 387 times.
Then where are the fairies?
Fun fact, you're wrong.
You can say that all you want. No, they're elves. She calls them elves.
Well, it's funny because I heard. Well, it doesn't matter. Let's get on with it. So, she's hearing these noises, but we go back and we see the husband and wife. They're drinking. They're complaining about the punk rockers listening to their music or whatever, and of course, they're doing more talk about how much they hate the kid.
I mean,
we got to keep getting it.
how
And they
can
seem
you
to hate
this
each other.
child? Like, she's so fucking cute. Like, how do you hate her? She's so sweet. These people are such demons.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's another drink. I don't know if they talk about hitting her.
I don't have any more beer. So.
Oh my god, I'm scared.
Well, I've already.
So the
finished
punk
mine.
rockers, on the other hand, are very excited because they are asking if they ask the mother of the house, the old woman of the house, are there antiques? Now, what does she say? She doesn't say antiques.
No, antiques.
Antiques. Do you have any antiques? And she's like, what is that?
Antiques, old stuff.
Yeah.
No, old shit
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. And then the old woman's like, well, I mean, to somebody these might be antiques. I'm an antique.
Yeah, she doesn't. I myself am.
She's
I'm
like,
an
I'm just
antique.
as, and then she gets quiet and she goes, I'm just as old as these dolls.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, she knows exactly what they're planning to do.
Yeah, so
you're gonna rob her blind.
That's the whole point here. The punk rock people are like, I want to rob the house. Oh, because they're originally planning to rob Ralph, taking his car keys and his wallet and leaving him. But now they found this house, they're thinking about robbing the house.
Yeah, so they find that this house is like really, I mean, there's a lot of old things in this house. And so Bunty Bailey, who is Isabel, she's just going to go ahead and go through the house and steal everything that has some kind of value, that she thinks has some kind of value. And Enid is going to stay in the room and wait for her. Well,
because she's mostly more of the offish. She doesn't really want to go through with a lot of things. Even with Ralph, she seems to be a little off with hurting him.
I mean, she really doesn't want to go through all this stuff.
But it's like that peer
you know?
pressure of her friend.
But Isabel's a trash heap human, and
Yeah.
so she's gonna make sure that all of this happens, and she's gonna try and lift stuff from the house and all the antiques and stuff, and she's just a piece of shit. But she does get what she deserves.
Yeah, that's when we start seeing the dolls for the first. Well, I don't think we actually do see it. In
Okay,
this
no,
scene.
we don't.
Yeah, this is from off-screen attack.
Yes. So we see her, Isabel is going through the house and she's stealing things. And at first we see her in a room looking at antiques, and the little music box goes off on the fireplace mantle. She closes it, and then she closes it again. And the dolls that were sitting there in the beginning are no longer sitting there. So obviously it's the dolls that are setting off the music box. She doesn't think anything of it though. She doesn't have time to think anything of it because they literally fuck her shit up. They grab her. You don't see the dolls at this moment. You don't see them in motion, but you see her being slammed face first into a wall, bloody and fucked up.
She falls to the floor and they battle ram her constantly into a wall until she's unconscious.
Yes, and then they throw her into the hallway where she's semi-unconscious, but she sees Judy. Judy sees her, all fucked up and bloody. Now, just so you know, piece of trivia here. The little actress that played Judy was a little bit scared.
Well, they wanted to make sure,
what they did was they made sure that she saw the makeup process on Bunty Bailey before, she shot that scene.
Yeah.
So that she could see that it was just pretend, because she was really scared. They didn't want to freak her out. I mean, it was bloody and it was gross. And she was missing teeth and her nose was bashed in and it was fucked up. So they made sure that the little girl had some kind of, understanding of it. Was just pretend.
Yeah.
But so Bunty Bailey's throwing into the freaking hallway and Judy sees her. Judy sees and she's like, "Help me." And they
she reaches out for her.
She reaches out, and a little doll drag her off. And so she runs into her dad's room and she's like, "Help me, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Get your beer ready. Get your beer ready.
Get your beer ready." So she's telling her dad, "Oh my God, one of the girls was dragged off. She was dragged off. The little people got her, the little elves. The elves got her." And so he goes to fucking backhand her and stop telling lies.
And for some reason, the wife stops him. And he goes for it a second time. He wants to hit this girl twice.
Yeah, he wants to beat the shit out of his own daughter.
But she says, "Well, let's drink on that first.
Okay, drink.
And then get your beer ready again, because she says, he can't hit you, but I can.
But I can.
So let's drink on that.
Let's drink on that. Okay.
An elf?
Yes, and then...
Judy, what have I told you about your stories?
But this is...
You'll wind up paying more child support. My money.
Look, I know you don't enjoy spending your summers with me. I don't like it either. But I'm sick of you lying all the time, okay? I don't want to hear it anymore. No more fairies, elves, princesses, ghosts, goblins, talking trees. I'm sick of it all, okay? I don't want to hear any more stories for the rest of the summer. Now get out of here. Go to bed.
But...
Out!
But, Daddy...
Better do what he says, short stuff. He may not be able to give you a swat, but I can.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe her at all. So obviously she runs to the only person that might believe her, which is Ralph.
Yeah, who's already having a hard time sleeping as it is, because he has a clown doll sitting at his bed staring at him.
He's got like a poltergeist doll staring at him.
It's actually like one of those tramp-looking clown versions,
Yeah.
It's not as scary as the poltergeist one.
No, it's not. It's a tiny
It's a tinier
one.
version.
Yeah.
But she actually grabs his toe while he's sleeping, and it just startles the shit out of him. He's so scared. And he sees it's her, and he's like, "What's going on?" And they have a nice little conversation, because she's like, "Look, do you believe kids?" And he's like, "Yeah, I guess so." And she's like, "Would you believe something I told you because other people won't believe me?" And he's like, "I think you have something you want to tell me." She's like, "Yes, the girl that you came with, I saw her get beaten and dragged off by the elves." Or the dolls or whatever.
The elves. She calls them dolls.
The elves.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah. It was blood everywhere, it was crazy. She was all messed up." And he's like, "What do you mean, elves?" And then he's not believing her until he looks down at her cute little slippers, her little bunny slippers that are painted in blood, covered in blood. And he reaches and he sees that it is blood. And he's like, "What happened?" And he goes, "Is this blood?" She says, "Well, yeah. I mean, it was everywhere. I was literally standing in blood piles." And so he now realizes that maybe she's telling the truth. So he naturally grabs a candlestick, and they go off to search the house.
No, they end up following the trail of blood, which
They don't even get to the trail of blood. They actually walk around the hallways. There's like an entire weird one take where they follow the camera following him to doors, and the actress that's playing Judy purposely drops her doll for a minute and then goes and gets it,
and then wanders
to another hallway for no particular reason,
right?
To set up a weird scare. It's not a scare. It's very odd. It's not even creepy. It's more of like a joke. Because she opens a door into his face. Mm-hmm. And she says, no one's in here.
Yeah. It's like, there's a lot of cute moments between her and Ralph. But ultimately, they follow the trail of blood up to the attic. Yeah, because
right when she stares at she shuts that door, the blood is now on the floor.
Yeah, so that was a film flub. There was no blood there before, but now there's blood there. So they follow the trail of blood up to the attic. And they're searching around, but little do they know that Isabel, the punk rock girl, has now turned into a doll, but a life-size living doll.
We don't really know that. We kind of get a little of a glimpse because it's clearly right behind them in the shot and they don't see it.
They don't see it, but she's strapped to a chair and she has a plastic face like a doll. And then they cut away from that.
I love that. We got to point this out because while that's being shown in the background of the shot, they're looking at a piano, and then, for some reason, Ralph goes, "We gotta tell people about this." And I'm like, "What? The piano that you found?"
Yeah, I don't understand that.
So when he goes to go down the stairs, we can see that dolls. They look like they make little noises like this, and then they look like they grab his feet, and he falls down the stairs. He says that he was bitten by a rat.
Okay, well, let the record show that he was bitten. There was a doll that bit him.
Yeah, because Judy says there were dolls that grabbed you.
Yes, a doll did bite him. And so we see that later on when he's cleaning his wound. But
and one of the funniest scenes where everybody just turns on Ralph.
Yes.
Because he runs right to the other people to wake them up to tell them what's going on. And that's, I guess, getting another drink up because they're like, why are you waking me up again? To the little girl. And then they realize, why are you with this guy? What are you doing with my daughter? You know, you're a pedophile. And then the other girl says, she's not gonna. He's like, no, I'm trying to, no. And then the other girl's like, you took my friend, and you did something to her. You sexual pervert.
Yeah,
and
so
like, no,
Enid is
no.
like, you did something to Isabel. Like, you killed her. Something's going on. Like, what? You've had a sexual attraction to her, whatever, which Ralph didn't.
Yeah.
But
he keeps going, no.
She's blaming him as you did something to Isabel.
Yeah.
Not the case. So we learn that, Enid, this is after, I believe, after the fact, Enid does go look for Isabel.
Yeah.
She does. And it does not end well for Enid at all. She goes up to the attic. She does see Isabel. And Isabel is 100% a life-size doll. She's got the face that's like plastic and ceramic, kind of like a doll. Mm-hmm. She sees the dolls actually attack her, and so she does put up a good fight. I will say this.
You have to point out that the cool thing is that the human doll thing is telling her to leave, run. It's like whispering it, and then her eyeballs fall out of her head, and that's the cover of the box of the tape.
That is
the poster for this movie.
Yes, it is, and let the record show
holding the eyeballs.
That is not Bunty Bailey. Bunty Bailey had to leave the set and do something else. So that is, in fact, the actress playing Enid in that role. She has actually transformed into Bunty Bailey to do that scene where her eyeballs fall out. So that is her doing that instead of Bunty Bailey. But
when that happens, though, when she sees the eyeballs and she picks the eyeballs up and she makes them look at her, that's when she gets attacked by all the dolls, and that's when we first start seeing the creepiest faces on the earth, these dolls. But what's cool is she fights back.
She does fight back. So she has this, so she whips off her belt and she starts.
It says like boys on it. It's like a big ass
boy
belt.
Toy. That was a big thing in the 80s for Madonna. Madonna had that belt. She started that whole entire thing, boy toy. And so the belt that she has says boy toy. And so she's beating the shit out of the dolls. But the best the best scene was when she actually gets downstairs and she leaves the attic and she gets downstairs and the little drummer boy and the firing squad come through. And it's like little soldiers, like little wooden soldiers. And one of them is playing the drum and they fucking fire squad on
It's
her.
actually really good. They hit the, obviously the little puppets and they're hiding behind them, moving their arms and stuff. And it looks great. They hit them very well. Some of them you can see strings, but not in this particular scene. It looks pretty good. They riddle with her with bullets and they kill her.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out, though, when she took off her belt, this is like a neat little scene, but it's also very questionable what's happening in this movie. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. She starts whipping her belt around and she starts hitting the dolls.
Mm-hmm.
And she's kicking their asses. And every time she hits the dolls, though, you would think that their heads would burst open and they would have nothing inside. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is there are some kind of creature's skulls and body parts underneath the broken dolls.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of questionable stuff going on. All right.
Well, at that point, you know that at least it's got to be at least, you know, witchcraft.
Well, apparently in the script, what I looked into here was that in the script they wanted to be porcelain. Now, for some really odd reason, Stuart Gordon has a fear of porcelain dolls in real life, and he didn't like it so much that they were just empty porcelain dolls.
Yeah.
He thought it'd be creepier and weirder if that every time they got hit, they were almost like alien inside.
Yeah.
So they started suggesting that they are a cross of three things. The wooden dolls, the March of the Wooden Soldiers that shoot her, are magic or witchcraft or whatever. And that the other dolls seem to be one of two things, which what I read was that he said fairies and elves. And he said that in one of the mythologies, I guess this is the thing, I don't really know this, but in one of the mythologies of elves or fairies, silver hurts them. So when she's hitting them with her belt, they're burning. You see smoke coming out of their faces.
Yes, that also can be attributed to the fact that their porcelain exoskeletons are being, destroyed.
But they don't have porcelain exoskeletons.
Well, they have.
They're creatures inside.
Yes, they are, but they do have a covering on their face.
But still, the smoke. Well, apparently they use cigarette smoke to pump it out of their bodies. So it is. They said that they are attributing it to them actually getting hurt by the silver.
Mm-hmm.
Very odd. But my biggest question is, what is happening in this movie? Like, is he building dolls around creatures?
No.
Apparently they're saying elves and fairies, so they might be.
Okay.
But there is something later on that kind of also makes another question. We'll get to that at the end, and I'll double down on this question.
Okay, I know where you're going
because
for.
this movie is
yes.
very odd in that sense.
Okay, I can give you the answer. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we'll get to it. But yeah, I wanted to point that out to set up this weird thing that's happening in this film. Yeah, she is killed. She's riddled with bullets and she's murdered.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, the father is in his room and he leaves to go chase after Judy.
Mm-hmm.
And he has an entire scene where he steals Punch from her and tells her that he's going to destroy Punch. So he can't destroy him, so he takes a candle to burn its face.
Yeah.
The wax falls on his foot and burns his foot instead, and he drops it, and there's a really funny-ass rewound shot of the doll falling off the chair, but they rewound it, so it looks like he just rolls back up into the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell that Punch is not having any of this shit.
No.
So he walks around the house. Now, what's really odd is that father just disappears from the film for a little while because we cut back to the mother.
That's not my real mother. My real mother lives in Boston.
Can it?
Who's in the bed. And that's when she starts getting attacked by dolls.
Which is kind of epic because I was wondering, like, when I first saw this movie, I was like, okay, at what point are we going to see them all just freaking losing their shit? You know, like, I want to see them all losing their shit. And we see it in this scene. It's great. It's great.
What do you mean? Who's losing their shit?
The dolls.
Well, the dolls were really during the punk rocker girls because she set some of them on fire.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about half of them. It was a cowboy.
I mean,
she
it's a
sets one on
cowboy,
fire.
yeah.
There's
But
totally different dolls doing different things.
yeah, so we don't see them in, I guess, in bulk the way we see them with Rosemary. Rosemary, removes the covers, and there's hundreds
all over
of them.
her bed. Yeah,
It's amazing. Like, there's so many of them, and they're just freaking destroying her.
they're all giggling, and they start attacking her by stabbing her with little knives, like swords that they have. If they're like toy soldiers, and not even toy soldiers, but like knights, they have like swords and stuff. And some of them start pulling out like saw blades.
I know, it's
and
amazing.
they start cutting her legs.
Yeah, they
and
cut her feet, her ankles.
And she keeps trying to get away, but she gets in the hallway. And they mess her up so bad that she has to crawl into the hallway. And she's able to get back onto her feet and try to open the punk rocker's door to get help. When she opens the door, the whole room is dolls. So she's just in shock. And that's when she sees they're cutting her foot again.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all over the room. She actually hobbles away down the hallway. And at the end, when she realizes she stops, that they're all over the floor. So she turns back. Now that the other end of the hallway. Now, this is one of the weirdest scenes. I told you we had to talk about this. This scene is baffling. I don't know if they cut a moment or they didn't have a special effect to fill this in to explain it. Well, what happens in this scene is that she makes a face like she's actually going to fight back. She gives her bitch face, like, oh, I'm going to, like, that stink smelling the fart again. And she's like, I'm going to fuck you guys up. But, and then she charges them, like she's going to fight them.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, all of a sudden, she's in the air. And she's scared and she's screaming. And she flies out the window.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wish I could get an explanation on this.
This scene obviously something's missing here. Like, they tripped her or they had something to trip her, but they didn't show it.
It looked like she was like, she has been enraged, like she's not going down without a fight. And she was, it seemed at that moment that, they were blocking her way and she was just going to fuck them up.
Yeah.
But no, that's not what happened. She jumps over them and flies out the window to her death.
It doesn't even seem like she jumps. It literally looks like she turns in the air and missiles out the window.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
And the fact that her face changes to screaming and shock means that something else had happened here.
I feel like they did a cut and they didn't tell it.
You said you thought that she just ran and jumped out the window, but I was like, her facial movements or her expressions would totally say something opposite. And you said she wouldn't go out like that. And well, who knows what the fuck? Because something wasn't filmed here properly. So she just flies out the window and she's dead, I guess, from the movie. She's never shown again.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. The husband now does, and she does shown again. She is shown. Somehow the dolls have now put her back into the bed and put a blanket, the covers over her.
Yeah, well, in some form or another, she is shown, yes.
But she's just like in the bed, and the husband finally shows back up. Now, it's really funny because he's been missing for quite a while. A lot happened up here. Mm-hmm. Some toy soldiers riddle the girl upstairs. It's really noisy. They're actually signaling. They're doing the whole, trumpet before they shot her. It's really noisy. And then they also have just killed this woman who went out of a window. And this guy didn't hear shit. And then he goes back up to the room. He gets back in the bed because he's now feeling, after chasing his daughter around, who he says, I guess we should drink again. That little shit had me going all over the house looking for her.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm telling you, when we get back, she needs a good slapping, whatever. And then he's like, you know what? I feel like sex time.
Right. So he gets in the bed with his deceased wife, who he does not know is deceased. But the bed sheet is covered in blood, which
it actually isn't. See. On our side, it starts becoming more and more visible. They actually timed this great. They either had some kind of trigger device to make it set off, but it just starts leaking. Perfect timing for us to see that it's dead woman underneath.
Right, and so like he is trying to like make out with her.
In fact,
stuff.
He gets a little sniff. He goes, oh. Oh yeah, I'm gonna take a shower.
And he goes
right
take a shower. So when he comes back out, he tries to make love with her again. And so she's, he pulls the sheet back and she's all fucked up and her eyeballs popping out and shit. And so he freaks out and he runs out in the hallway.
At this point, Ralph and Judy have met back up, and they're starting to get nervous. And Ralph ran into Mr. Gabriel. And he said, what's going on? And Gabriel's like, nah, I smelled some paint. I actually paint the dolls at night. and I spilled some paint. Everything's fine. And he's like, I don't think so. I think everything's really going wrong. And he's like, oh, in the morning, if the punk rocker girl doesn't show up, I'll go look for her. Mm-hmm. And then he just walks off, and Ralph is not having it. But Ralph and Judy go exploring, and they find that one room. And now that's when Ralph starts seeing that the dolls are real. And he freaks out in a doll room and starts kicking the dolls.
Okay, so this is a scene that's very out of character for Ralph, but I understand him.
He's scared out of his mind.
I understand he's like scared shitless and he's had enough. And so, he's trying to get Judy to leave the house because he's just had enough. He's like, these fucking dolls, man. And he's like, I can't take it anymore. So he's like, let's go. And he's like, just, starts kicking them and shit. Oh. And they get mad and they start attacking Ralph, and Judy's like, no. Why are you doing this to my friend? Stop doing this to my friend. He's a good guy. And so they stop and they let them go.
Real quick though, I forgot about this. That when they met in the kitchen. He was cleaning off the wound because he does have a bite, and he's cleaning it off. And Mr. Punch has now shown back up in a chair for Judy. So Judy finds Mr. Punch, and he's like shocked about it. And he looks at Mr. Punch and he's like, I don't know what's happening here. And Mr. Punch goes,
Ralph. Deep down inside, you know.
You know,
Ralph. Deep down inside, you know.
So, yeah, Ralph's like, what? And then, so that's when they find that room and they get attacked. And he's kicking those dolls like crazy. And they fuck him up. They almost kill him. But Judy stops them. But they have a little funny, creepy little chat with each other, trying to discuss if Ralph is a little boy inside of a man's body or what. Mm-hmm. And they decide that, Ralph is a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So they free them. But when they get freed, they run into Judy's dad. And Judy's dad is looking for revenge and believes that Ralph killed his wife.
Yes.
So he attacks Ralph.
Which is crazy because, you got to be the shittiest judge of character of all times. Like, honestly.
Well, he is.
Ralph is the sweetest person.
He is. Look at the woman he was with. Like, I don't know.
Oh my God, I know. Why would you marry her?
They can explain that her mother, Judy's mother, is amazing.
Yeah, obviously
like, why,
she couldn't put up with him anymore. That's what it was.
Hopefully.
Judy's mother was probably amazing, but it was like, why did I ever marry
she's still
him?
single, and he's already with another woman, which means that he was cheating with this older woman.
Oh, yeah, and obviously
I don't even
for her
understand.
money. Obviously for her money.
That's weird.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Nothing. She's a shrew. She's a piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, Judy, Ralph and the father have a fight. They have a big fist fight, a big showdown.
Your father sounds upset.
He looks upset too.
Killed Rosemary.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
Then who did?
No, little people.
The dolls kind of come after the father or whatnot because he fights Punch.
Yes, they do, but they don't incapacitate him.
No, he gets separated because Ralph is in the other room, and the father gets separated from Ralph and Judy. And he has an entire fight with the dolls, and Mr. Punch turns on him, and Mr. Punch is trying to kill him with a tool, like a electric drill,
yes.
And he unplugs it, and then he's able to completely destroy and kill Mr. Punch.
Yes, but the final result of all of that is that the father does meet up with Gabriel. Now
Gabriel comes after. Gabriel and the wife come in the room after Punch is killed.
Yes. And, they say, hey, being a father is a privilege, not a right. And they turn him into Mr. Punch. And he has the same exact pajamas. He has the same, they slowly turn him into, so like usually.
How does he get killed though? How do they do this?
I don't recall that he does get killed. I think they just turn him into it. They use witchcraft. They use sorcery.
So they just use witchcraft on him and he turns into it?
100%. So because he destroyed Mr. Punch, they destroyed him.
Yeah.
He destroyed him. He is now the new Mr. Punch.
Punch.
And so he's turned into that character. that is the start of all of the characters turning into, like, we lose Enid, we lose Isabel,
Yeah.
and Rosemary, and they are all dolls at that point.
We don't see that for a little bit. What we
don't see
get
that
is
till the
that
end.
Ralph and Judy wake up in their beds, and Gabriel comes to him, and it's daytime, everything's fine, and he tells them, "You guys slept through the whole thing. Did you have any weird dreams?" And oh yeah, I had this whole thing. And he's like, "Oh, that didn't happen." And she's like, "Where's my dad?" And he's like, "Oh, he left me a note." And he's like, "Here's the note." And then he reads the note, and he says, "I'm not a good father. I should have been a better dad, and I never should have had kids. I'm going to leave to another country with my wife, and we're changing our names, and we're never going to see you again. You're going to go home with your mom in Boston. Oh, and Ralph, he wants you to go take her to Boston to see her mother."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "I don't have any money." He's like, "Oh, not only did he leave enough money for her plane ticket, he also left money for your plane ticket." And he's like, "Well, that's funny because he didn't seem like a nice guy."
Right. And then also Ralph is like, okay, well, what happened to Enid and Isabel? And Gabriel's like, oh, and in addition to that, in this letter, he wrote that he took the hitchhikers with him. And then Ralph is like,
He actually goes, "P.S. I took the hitchhikers with us."
Yeah. And then Ralph was like, well, let me see that letter. And Gabriel throws it in the fire. So it's like, okay, that's just convenient. But so we know what happened to everybody. And
Yeah, well, that's when they say, well, but Judy says, "Well, what about Mr. Punch?" And he's like, "He's right here. He had to get a little bit of a makeover, but he's right here." And they show him, and he's in his new pajamas, which is actually matching of the father's pajamas.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Oh, Mr. Punch," and she's like, "Can I?" Well, he's like, Gabriel's like, "You can always stay here, Ralph and Judy. You can always stay here and play with toys all the time if you want." And Ralph is like, "Yeah, I want to get out of here. Judy, let's go." And Judy says, "I actually miss my mom, but I would love to come back and visit. And can I see Mr. Punch again when I come back?" And he's like, "Of course." And then Punch speaks like the father and says, "See you, little squirt."
He says, bye, Judy.
I thought he says, "Bye, squirt."
Yeah, he does say bye, squirt.
And
yeah.
then Ralph is like, "Ugh."
Yeah. And then the best part of the movie is when
He puts Punch on the mantle.
He puts Punch on the mantle with the other dolls, which is Rosemary in the same outfit that she died in, and the two punk rockers in the same outfit that they died in.
I love that she has the towel on her head.
Yes, she has a towel on her head and the same, silver robe and stuff, and the punk rockers are dressed the same way, but they've turned into dolls. And so, it goes to show you that the whole entire movie is basically people that have ended up there that have been, not good people.
This is the creepy part. So this is the weird part because they make it seem like there's other aspects to it, but then they're also saying that they turn bad people who come there, like a Silent Hill scenario, where bad people are drawn to this place and things happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And when what they get is they turn into these dolls.
And that's exactly right.
And that's what happened here, but I don't know.
Okay, so Judy and Ralph they get in a car and they leave. And you see at the end, that the dolls with her father, Rosemary, and the two, they're all stuck there. But like ultimately, when you see the dolls get crushed, in the fight scenes when they are fighting back. I mean, Enid fights back and she, bashes them in and stuff like that. You can see that they were once people.
No, it doesn't look like people. It looks like a little alien.
It looks like little aliens, but that they're probably. That's like the black magic happening.
What I read is that the Stuart Gordon ended up saying that it was elves and fairies. I don't understand that.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense because
that magic part was the other thing.
They literally are, it's black magic. I mean, 100%.
Yeah, that there's some kind of magic involved, and they're also suggesting that Gabriel and his wife are also human puppets.
Yeah.
Because they actually say, "Oh, he figured it all out on his own." Because he says, "You two freaks are just like these dolls."
I mean,
and she's like, "Oh, you figured it out."
I feel like Hillary and Gabriel are like timeless because they just don't die, and it's like they're using sorcery to actually stay alive themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which
I love
is,
when Judy and Ralph drive off. Judy says, "Hey, Ralph, do you ever think about getting married?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. My mom is a really pretty and single woman." And he's like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "Ralph, have you ever thought about having a kid before?" I think that's funny. Stuart Gordon has gone on record saying that he really wanted to do a sequel for this movie, and that he had an entire idea where he wanted Ralph to go meet the mother, and they would get married, and that Gabriel and Hillary, you said,
yes.
send themselves as dolls to them. And I don't know how that would have been, but I actually like the end credits of this film. Is that the credits start rolling and we see a new car has got stuck in the mud outside the house, and there's a guy outside, and the whole credits is this guy trying to get his car out of the mud, which it's going to happen all over again, which is kind of great. And the sequel could have been really easy. It could have just been other people in the house.
Yeah, I feel like they could have done that easily. Fun fact I forgot to tell you is that the actress playing the freaking bitch who's Rosemary, that's actually Stuart Gordon's wife.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's wow. Well, that explains why she's in every one of his films.
That's his wife. So that's a bit of trivia there. But I love the ending of this movie because it kind of keeps it open for like, oh, we could do another one. But they never did. Unfortunately, they never did. And it sucks. Stuart Gordon passed away in 2020. And I feel like it was a huge loss,
Yeah.
Like, he made some movies that were not, exactly 4-star movies or 5-star movies, but they were fun. And they really did define a lot of our childhoods,
Well, I mean, the big thing is here, too, is as directors and these filmmakers get older, they start changing the way that they film movies, and they started getting more cheap. Mm-hmm. And what I really like seeing about these older Charles Band films, these Stuart Gordon films, is just how practical effects, how they were thinking outside the box. It's like when Sam Raimi and those guys were getting together and doing the Evil Dead films, they had to think of crazy stuff to make these films and these scenes.
Yeah.
And so they're thinking outside the box to make these certain shots and these amazing set pieces with no money. And then as they got older, they started getting lazier. And they started using more effects, they're relying on effects, that kind of stuff. And you saw that with Charles Band just completely stopped. There was a real fun, culty aspect of his film back in the day. When you watch this movie, watching how they were trying to hide the ropes or hide the puppeteering, the fact that they used stop motion, animatronics, they used all these different techniques to get these shots. The movie was like in post-production for like a year because they were trying to get all these shots done. And there's something endearing about those amazing practical effects that you don't see enough anymore. It's just like putting an extra love letter to the films. Something it makes it more just stand out, like they're actually caring about their films. Now when you watch their films, everything looks cheap. So you watch Ginger Dead Man or something like that. It just looks like rubber being bent in the wrong way. Like when you take one of your stupid rubber dolls and you just like turn their arms and they're like flopping. It looks like that now, and it's not great. And it also just shows how little they give a shit.
Yeah.
And true. I think that just really loses me. There's something really special about taking a little bit of a time, coming up with interesting practical ideas, coming up with new solutions to how to film on cheap. And that's just not there anymore. And so all these people started, like Stuart Gordon in the end with his last films and stuff, kind of not what they were. Everybody really was used to his practical, crazy effects. So and I think as we do Talking Trash more and more, we see more of that. Like, shit. We did like, some Argento or whatever. I don't know if we did it on here. We should have. But we watched some of his later stuff, and you're like, holy shit. Wow, what happened?
Yeah.
It just happens to every one of these directors, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks because, like when I said 1986 was the year. I mean, it really was the year, and I feel like had Stuart Gordon continued on, he could have made some fucking great movies. I mean, first of all, 1986 gave us Night of the Creeps. That is one of my favorite movies of all time. I can't help it. A Deadly Friend gave us Little Shop of Horrors remake. I mean, just gave us so many amazing movies, horror movies that I just can't. I mean, stupid crap like Slaughter High, which, just crap. Critters, April Fool's Day. But like 1986 was like the year. And I feel like if he would have just continued on, Stuart Gordon, he could have just made some really fucking rad stuff.
Well, it would have been nice if studios got behind him a little more, because it was more
Right.
like these indie cult people were doing it.
Yeah.
You only have Troma made, Troma, Charles Band, all these guys, Roger Corman. They were doing these movies on the cheap, and they were giving like everybody their start, but none of the big studios would give a lot of these guys credit. And Stuart Gordon's one of those guys. They just didn't put faith into somebody like him.
I know,
So-
and that's upsetting. It is upsetting. And I get it though. I do get it because, like, I mean, who wants to put stock in movies like this?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
well,
it's-
right now you can see the boom in horror.
Right, but now, I mean, if like you're a huge name, like if you're John Carpenter or something.
Well, John
I get
Carpenter
it.
really didn't get love either. I think people really just don't realize how little these people were given like anything to do. Like John Carpenter's movies were a bust, and his career really lingered in like nonsense movies in the end of his career.
Yeah, but in 1978 he did Halloween, and that was huge.
Yeah, and then they gave him some
So-
budget, and the thing flopped heavily.
I mean, that is shocking.
It's shocking. And then after that, he just did not make commercial films that were big. I mean, I saw all of his movies in the theater, but a lot of those end ones are not good. Same thing with Wes Craven. Same thing with all these guys. Like, they started losing faith. And even Wes Craven's on, record saying, I get it. You got to make the things that make them money.
And you know what? He's right though.
He's
He was
right, unfortunately, but at the same time, give them faith, because you see what happened with Wes Craven in the movie Cursed. That is a shit show, and it just shows you that they didn't trust him. They edited the movie, they changed it.
Yeah.
This keeps happening.
It kind of like goes along with, I mean, yes, having faith in a filmmaker. Like somebody had faith in Tim Burton. I mean, he made Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Well, Tim Burton is an exception because he just kept evolving into blockbuster territory.
Right.
No
but
one
he
trusted
started
him.
out with like a weird, situation. Pee-wee's Big Adventure was, I mean, yes, we did have Pee-wee's Playhouse. Yes, we did. But Pee-wee's Big Adventure was like a huge, like,
I think Pee-wee's Playhouse came after the movie.
did it?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, because I think the stage show, the comedy stand-up, is what spawned the movie.
I thought we had Pee-wee's Playhouse before that.
I don't think so. No, because it's completely different. And nobody involved, because Phil Hartman wrote Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And Phil Hartman wasn't a part of the show at all. They had a falling out. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, Tim Burton, the reason that the show was so different from the movies were a little more adult. The show was more for kids, so it was completely different. But yeah, Tim Burton, the thing that happened with Tim Burton is nobody trusted comic book movies at all. But he got a comic book movie, and it nailed it, and it was successful. And his career went up
Okay.
from there. There's a difference when you take a long shot and you actually turn out something huge. No one knew that Spider-Man or Batman were going to be that huge.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean,
And then Tim Burton, you can also look at what happened after that. With Tim
Pee-wee's Playhouse came out on surprisingly 1986. And then Pee-wee's Big Adventure was 1985. So you're right. I thought it was
because
the
the
other way
popularity
around.
of the movie made the show.
I get it. Okay, that makes sense. I thought it was the other way around.
No, he was doing it. It was like Second City, stage shows. All the famous people were all doing their stage show with him.
Oh, okay, I get it. All right, cool.
Yeah, but Tim Burton, look what happened after Tim Burton with that, though,
Well-
right? So he makes Batman, makes a huge success.
Yeah.
And then they didn't have any faith in him. They basically fired him off Batman 3. He didn't want to do it anyways. But then he makes crap like Planet of the Apes. and Willy
But he
Wonka.
made a whole bunch of amazing stuff before that. He made Beetlejuice and he made Edward Scissorhands and stuff before that.
No doubt. but-
So like, I mean, somebody out there had to have faith in him, And I feel like somebody had to have faith in Stuart Gordon at some point. But, whatever. I wish we would have gotten a sequel to this Dolls movie because it would have been fun. And I would love to see the continuing adventures of, Gabriel and Hillary.
Well, I'm with you because I think we talked about this last month with our remakes episodes. We were talking about horror movie remakes, and we were talking about movies we'd like to see remade. And I wouldn't mind a movie in this vein being remade.
Here's the thing about that, though. They would use ridiculous CG. And it would look goofy. It would look really stupid.
If we're seeing anything like we just saw Five Nights at Freddy's not too long ago, they use practical effects to make the puppets. You get Jim Henson people involved and stuff like this. There's a very easy way of doing this, and it could be great. And if you use that practical effects and you made a scary fucking doll movie, you could make a pretty cool movie with this.
Yeah.
The concept is very easy. It's not one of those movies that's like, how dare you remake it? This is one of those movies you're like, oh yeah, you could do something new with it. It doesn't even need to be a remake. It could be a continuation.
I get that, and I'm on board for that. I am, even though this is like a beloved movie in my eyes, like since I was young, I'm on board for that. I am.
I'm the same with Puppet Master. I want it. I want this demonic toys and stuff like that. I want those to be upgraded to new versions of these things. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah, it's like what's his name? Don Mancini with Chucky.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still doing
He's
this.
still doing it. Yeah, it's amazing.
And he is using
it's
practical
very
effects,
unique. Yeah, people don't want to give that series credit.
No.
But the same guy has been doing that same series, and he's constantly evolving it. It needs to be praised.
I mean, yeah.
Nobody has the staying power like Chucky has.
No. Chucky is, the most amazing horror icon. I'll argue this until I'm dead.
This isn't an episode on Chucky.
But nowadays, people seem to want their playthings mass-produced. Nobody wants dolls that are special anymore, that are one of a kind.
I do.
Yes, I believe you do.
Well, so, I can make it an episode on Chucky, okay?
All right.
He's everything.
Well, what is your why we can't have nice things?
We're good. Okay, so I'll start with the one review. You want to do that one? Okay. You're looking at me like, what? Okay, here. All right, hold on. Let me find.
Well, at least the old fart stocked some good wine.
It tastes musty, just like this house.
I've been drinking. I'm sorry. I've been drinking. Give me a minute.
I think we should drink every time that you say, I've been drinking.
You know what? I don't appreciate this. All right. So, this is kind of a long one. Okay. So, it's 10 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10.
I love that. It's a 10 out of 10. God bless these people.
Okay.
This has got to be a Stuart Gordon fan.
Okay. Well, it's titled A Truly Magical Fantasy Horror from the legendary Charles Bandcamp. Legendary B-movie producer, writer, director Charles Band brought us many of the little cult fantasy horrors that haunted our childhoods. Back in the 80s, Charles Band had Empire Pictures Productions before creating Full Moon Features in 1989. I grew up watching a bunch of his Empire-released films, such as Dolls and Robot Jocks and Ghoulies 2 and Troll and Arena, from what I can remember. These movies always had a great artwork that stood out in the video stores, especially Dolls. Now I consider Puppet Master to be my favorite of the killer doll subgenre, but Dolls is definitely in my top 3 with Puppet Master and Demonic Toys. I grew up watching Puppet Master 1 and 2, and Dolls, and Child's Play 1 and 2, and Demonic Toys, and Dolly Dearest. All great films in my opinion. Dolls isn't directed by Band, though. It's directed by Stuart Gordon, an inventive creative director who's done a bunch of films for Charles Band, including Reanimator and From Beyond. Dolls is a gothic horror that's full of fantasy and humor that's all blended perfectly together to create a real late-night treat. A bunch of people ended up at a huge old spooky mansion during a huge storm. A nasty couple with a lovely little girl end up in a mansion as their car broke down, and a nice guy and 2 hitchhiker punk chicks end up there too. So he's giving a whole synopsis. Stephen Lee was a gem of an actor, or character actor as they say, but he just never made it big. Lee is similar to other comic greats such as James Belushi or Dan Aykroyd or John Candy. Do you see that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Such a shame because Lee was a very funny and likable guy. I'm a big fan and consider him a favorite of mine. I'm sad to hear that Steven died in his late 50s from a heart attack.
This is a real synopsis.
He was a very likable and funny guy on screen and did his best work in Dolls because it gave him his movie, his name first and his main character, and he's the heart and the humor of this film. Okay. Dolls is actually very creepy and very bloody and violent at times. The killer dolls are brought magically to life with that beautiful stop motion and puppetry that old school horror did so well. Still better than CGI. Dolls is a cult classic that should be rediscovered and loved. Dolls is fun. It's a fun fright flick from the glory days of low-budget B-movie filmmaking and one of the best from Charles Band Productions. So that's a 10.
Yeah, I mean, the 10 is all about nostalgia factor, and that's one of the things I can't stand is when people can't separate their love of nostalgia versus a review. There needs to be a separation there because it's not fair. Because you're always going to come down to like, what's your favorite movie? You know, this is your favorite movie ever made. This is a perfect film. Come on.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons why we can't have nice things. But yeah, what's the one?
Okay, so the one is, and let me just state for the record that there is only one-star review here. Okay, so this is Full Moon Productions, What Are You Guys Doing? Okay, so this movie is terrible. It's about wasting money and effort on incomprehensible nonsense. I mean, you could buy a boat and name it Dolls. That boat is way more entertaining than this movie. On top of that, you could set your boat you named Dolls on fire. Film that inferno, and that would be a better movie.
Wow, Jesus Christ.
Okay, that's rough. That's a 1 out of 10. First of all, this movie is so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you say that it's, an inferno of crap? It is not.
Yeah.
It's fun. You have to go into these movies knowing that you're going to get something ridiculous and over the top, but yet you still got some gore, you still got some, creep factor. And it's just a classic.
Yeah.
Like, how could you go into this movie thinking otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little too extreme. I mean, that's really harsh.
Yeah.
Nothing about it. He didn't enjoy anything about it. This is ridiculous.
Right. I mean, my review, personally, is a little over the top. My personal review. I gave it a 7.
Close to it.
Whoa.
Because this movie holds a special place in my heart and always will, for nostalgia reasons. And not because it's brilliant filmmaking, but because it's...
Yeah, but if we start reviewing things on nostalgia, then everything's going to be swayed.
Okay.
Everything's going to be, like, blurred.
Well, if you want to go...
That's like me giving Godzilla films that I know aren't that great perfect scores because of nostalgia.
I get that. So if you want to be... Okay, you want to go into the reality factor. This movie's a 5. It's entertaining. It's mediocre. However, I gave it a 7 for my own personal vault of, meaningful horror movies because it has... it has something from my childhood. But if you look at this in a subjective, with real eyes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. More not subjective, but
not subjective.
Oh, just being honest. Like, is this
like if you look at this in with a real eyes, you'll see that it's not that good. It is not. It is clearly a 4 or a 5, but it's fun and you'll have a good time with it.
Yeah, we always say that movies that are so bad it's good kind of get elevated each time. And it depends on how much elevated it is. So even if a movie isn't good and you start going down to the bottom, it starts pumping back up because of your overall experience and your enjoyment.
Yeah.
I usually don't like giving things like this a 5, but I got to the point where it kept going up enough. I enjoy the characters. I enjoy the dolls. I enjoy the practical effects. I enjoy the kills are funny. Yeah, sure. Technically, it's all over the place. The tone mix is all over the place.
Yes, there's a lot of film
really
flubs.
Explained.
There's a lot of
yeah. And so you kind of know that there's problems, but I also still know that it is actually a fun watch.
It's hilarious. It's a great fun time.
And so I give it a 5 as well. I hate giving things 5s because it's usually my least favorite movies, but this is just elevated enough where I'm like, it's good background. Like, so if I'm going to put something on and just enjoy something for fun in the back and I'm going to glance at it every couple minutes, yeah, this is the kind of movie you want to watch.
Yes, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And I think most of Charles Band's, stuff kind of feels like that.
Mhm.
Where you're like, I like this to a point. I know there's a lot of problems, but there's something about this that I just really enjoy.
Yeah, and it's the same thing as Stuart Gordon's Reanimator. I mean, we love it because we love Jeffrey Combs.
I
It
love
is
that.
schlock.
It's schlocky, but it is almost a student film made expertly well in directing it. There's some crazy great stuff. There are some fun bits. I like that movie a little bit
Right.
more.
And so we elevate that because of how we, the nostalgia, our love of Jeffrey Combs, our love of the schlock. So, yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of factors that incorporate.
And it's also supposed to be schlocky. Some of these films aren't like, some of these films are still being films.
Yes.
Whereas like Evil Dead 2 knows what it is. You know what I mean? And so you have to rate it off of that. Scary Movie is supposed to be that stupid. You know what I mean? Like, this movie was trying to be a regular movie.
Yes.
It wasn't trying to be schlocky on purpose. It was just trying to be a fun, good movie.
Mhm.
So you rate it like that. So, yeah, I think a 5's perfect.
Yeah.
But I get it. I get completely why this is one of those movies. I do enjoy it.
It's great.
So, yeah, I understand why you picked it, and I understand why you loved it for so long.
I mean, I'll love it forever. I mean, it's part of my childhood. It's one of the first horror movies that I ever truly loved, and I'll never, ever stop loving it. I'll never stop loving it.
And that brings me to a good segue, because next week we're going to dive into a movie that is shit-tastic in a way that I just could not get enough of it when I was a child. I rented this movie so much that the video store owner said to my mom, "Why don't you just buy it? You're going to break the tape sooner or later anyways." And that would be Super Inframan.
A motion picture that will stagger your imagination. Inframan, the ultimate in science fiction.
From the fantastic people, Shaw Brothers, classic. This is a movie that stole from everything. This is a Power Rangers ripoff. This is an everything ripoff. And I just adore it, and I watched it into the ground.
And so have I, because I have married you.
Yes, and I just adore it. And we could drink every time someone does a backflip.
All right, well, I'm going to be fucking wasted.
Next week, Super Inframan.
Quit moaning about that toy and get moving.
All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here because we're nice and toasty. And we thank you for listening, anybody who's listening out there. And if you are listening and you have some thoughts on Dolls, Charles Band, Stuart Gordon, our thoughts on it, anything, we'd love to hear about it. And we always want to hear your movies that you love that are so bad it's good, or movies that you think are the worst movies ever made. That's the kind of movies we want to watch. So give us some hints, give us some input, and hit us up on social media at The Crafty Misfit or at Just Another Movie Night. We'd love to hear it. Thank you so much again. Have a good one.
Well, I'm certain that people with an appreciation for objects that were made with loving care.
Yeah, but are they antiques?
Antiques?
You know, valuable old shit. Stuff.
Antiques? Well, I suppose you could call some of these things antique. They are old. I suppose you could call me an antique, too. I'm just as old as half of this stuff.
Yeah, you sure are.
Pleasant dreams. Don't let the bed bugs bite.